Drop Hip here, the Rotary Club of Georgetown. Our regular meeting will get started around 12:15 or so. Use this time as a time of fellowship. Call on other members that you haven't talked to in a while, and we will hear from our club president, George Lorgan, around 12:15 as we get started. Hope everybody is having a wonderful and blessed Friday. We'll be back on here in just a little bit. Again, use this time for fellowship. Thank you, friends. Hey friends, Rob Pip here. We are about to get started here in just about a minute. I know that you haven't seen anything on your screen yet, but here coming up in about a minute or so, we'll get started with the main meeting. So stay with us, friends. Thanks for joining us. The Rotary Club of Georgetown. We'll hear from our club president, George Lorigan, here in just a few moments.
All that goes well. Where is Rob so he can tell me that I'm on? There he is. Okay, gave me the thumbs up. Great, fantastic. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Georgetown, Texas. My name is George Lorigan, and we are going to get started here right now. We just tried something a little different that we haven't done before, which is called breakout groups. So anyone who was joining us on Zoom was able to do that. If you'd like to join next week, you're certainly welcome. Anyone who would like to join on Zoom is welcome to do so. We'd love to have you. And that'll also allow you then to interact face-to-face with other members of the Rotary Club, kind of break out in groups of about 4 or 5 people, and then you can just kind of have a conversation like you normally would, over lunch at our tables. So we'll start with our main welcome screen here. As soon as I get that to show up, there we go. All righty, welcome to the Rotary Club. And Jim Deucer is the first one on with our invocation.
Thank you, George. This invocation comes from a gentleman by the name of James Freeman. He wrote it for soldiers in World War II. He was a chaplain, and it is appropriate for our time today. It is a prayer for protection. May the light of God surround us, the love of God enfold us, the power of God protect us, the presence of God watches over us. The mind of God guides us. The life of God flows through us. The laws of God direct us. The power of God abides within us. The joy of God uplifts us. The strength of God renews us. The beauty of God inspires us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen.
Jim, thank you very, very much. That was awesome. Brian Derringer, pledge.
Wonderful. Please join with me, face the flag, and pledge to our allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Brian. Mark Dietz, you're up.
Well, if everybody can see the same screen I can, then this is going to be real easy.
Yes, I can.
Members' birthdays, Amberly Kurkowski, June 1st. Spouse's birthdays, Gary Street and his wife, Dana. Her birthday is on June the 1st. I am aware Melissa's birthday is on Tuesday, June the 2nd. I have done nothing about it, but I plan to. Ken White's wife, Kathy's birthday is June the 2nd. And anniversaries coming up are Randy Mongold and Mickey Mongold have been married 50 years, which is a clapping event. I don't know whether Randy will be able to see it, but everybody will clap.
That's 50 years to her and 50 years for me, yes.
And Nathan and Amanda Winstead, 9 years on June the 4th. Nelson Barrett has been a member of the club for 35 years on June the 1st. Jeannie Cox, 14 years on June the 1st. And Glenn Towery, 3 years on June the 2nd. So a round of applause and a salute for all.
Salute.
Salute.
Thank you very much. Visiting Rotarians and guests. So who do we have here as a guest? I know we have a past district governor with us, someone named Rich Kay. Rich,
I'm here, sir. Yes.
welcome to us. Did Jim Henry get on? I did not see Jim on yet.
I have not seen Jim on. He called to tell me he was getting on, so maybe he found a better deal. I don't know.
He might have, or maybe my block worked really good. I don't know.
I'm gonna mute myself and find out.
All righty. Any other visiting Rotarians or guests that have joined us today? All righty. Moving right along. Dennis, what do we have for me? Dennis, I'm not hearing you. You might have muted yourself or someone. There we go.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now, sir.
You're all safe today. Particularly, hope people didn't get too much hail damage beyond Karen. That was quite a story.
I'm telling you what, I just feel for her. That was just amazing devastation at her house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you so much. George Oliver, what do you have?
We don't have anything new with membership this week.
Okay, fantastic. Well, you've been doing a fantastic job, and I keep hearing, at district level, they are recognizing the Rotary Club of Georgetown, and specifically your work and all the members' work in recruiting folks. During this pandemic, we have actually increased number of members instead of decreasing them. So,
And I understand that the Georgetown Rotary Club is about to surpass Killeen as the second largest club in the district.
Yep. Great job, everybody. Great job. Did Stephen Pinole make it on? I did not see him earlier. Just a quick reminder, the COVID virus is still among us. It's still here. We have to learn to live with it until we can get a vaccination or some way of actually just defeating this virus. But follow the precautionary recommendations, washing hands, wearing masks, staying 6 feet apart, do it smart, and clean the surfaces so that we can survive this together and thrive either way. But one of the things that Stephen points out many times, and I think it's really, really important, don't forget that's our health is not the only part of our life. There's a whole lot more to your life than just being healthy, and don't let the COVID virus destroy everything else in our life. So let's figure out a way of functioning with this virus and still doing the other things that are important to our life. Ron Swain, task force leader for our response in the community.
Thank you, George, and good afternoon, everyone. We continue to solicit your support and involvement wherever possible. Faith in Action is transitioning some of its activities to care calls, and there are opportunities for you to participate with them from your home or from wherever you are by volunteering to place care calls. Michelle Wilkerson is the contact person. Her email address and phone number are listed on the slide, which is up before you. So we invite you and encourage you to contact Michelle if you're interested in that. The next slide should be about the Caring Place, which continues to provide meals weekly to individuals within our community, individuals and families. And they continue to need support financially so that they can purchase food items for distribution. I need to get an update from Jenna O'Connor there, because I'm understanding that the Central Texas Food Bank is running low on some food items. And so that's something that we want to be mindful of. The next slide is actually report on our club's support of organizations in the community that are providing services during this time. And we'll just remind you of our gifts, our grants, our many grants to the Caring Place, to the YMCA, and to Any Baby Can. Thank you for your support of those organizations. And George, I think that may be
Yes, sir.
the end of my report as we transition to Jim Duzier.
All righty. So we got Jim, and Jim asked if Rhonda, I don't know if Rhonda's still able on. She was on for a few moments earlier and then slipped off. But Rhonda, if you're available, you and Jim have the floor.
I think she went away, but I very much appreciated, George, that you put the letter as an attachment to your invitation to join us today, because it does give the same information as you see on the screen as far as places that you can donate food. The fourth place that has just become available, thanks to Rhonda, is at the Wolf Ranch Shopping Center right next to the Ross for Less store, which is actually right next door to that store is Rhonda's office. And there are 2 barrels there. And what makes this important is that in these barrels are people can donate food, non-perishable food that will then go to people that can't go to the Caring Place. They can't go to the food bank. They are homebound. And thanks to Bob Weimer and the Helping Hands organization, the Salvation Army can prepare these meals and or boxes of food, and then Bob Weimer and his volunteers distribute them to people that are homebound. So anybody and everybody that wants to help out, there you go. You put that Wolf Ranch thing on there, George. Thank you.
George is pretty swift on that.
Yeah. Anyway, now we have 4 places that you can donate this stuff, and the need is going to continue. I wish I thought that the virus pandemic and the need to stay isolated is going to pass quickly, but I think we're in for the long haul. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your leadership in doing that. Larry Baird, what's going on with ramps? You got some special information, I think, about ramps, don't you?
Yeah, I'm recruiting 2 additional ramp builders for a project other than the Rotary ramp. I think most of you are familiar with American Heritage Girls. One of the young ladies her project is to design and build a combination ramp and deck for the Hearts Therapeutic Riding Center. I've worked with her in the design and establishing the bill of materials, and they're going to be building the modules on June the 20th at Mel's parking lot. And what I'm trying to do is recruit 2 to 3 ramp builders to help and guide them. We would not build, but we would work with them as they build the modules. So if you are so interested, please feel free to text me. You can reach me at 847-650-3651. And again, I don't need any more than 3, but I do need 2 to 3 builders that can help me on June the 20th. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Jeff Cartledge, are you on, or is possibly Nathan on? If not, definitely a reminder. Our golf tournament is back on. We're not certain exactly what's going to happen with the dinner because we don't know what the restrictions are going to be in that area, but we are planning the golf tournament. There will probably be restrictions involved in that, and more information will come, but plan on it for Friday, August 28th. You know, same basic schedule that we had before. Exciting time to celebrate and all the different exciting things that have gone on in our club this year. So just plan on being there if you can all be a part of it. Looking at our calendar this afternoon, the district continues their special Zoom series. In fact, we have a past Rotary president, I believe, who will be speaking there. Everyone received the newsletter directly from district from 4 to 5 p.m. Those are great and exciting. Normally there's over 100 people that join that, and great opportunity to connect with people around the district and around the country and sometimes even around the world. So people join from all over the place. So that it's a great opportunity to hear from some tremendous leadership in Rotary. We'll have another meeting next Friday. I don't know who's exactly going to be speaking, but you'll want to be there. For those of you who aren't on the Zoom call, you are welcome to do that if you would like to. You're not required, but you could do. Please try to log in early, maybe around about 11:45, just like you normally would come to the club meeting around between 11:45 and 12 o'clock. That time, we're going to actually divide up the people there into small groups. They call them breakout groups on Zoom, and it allows you to talk among about 4 or 5 people about what's been going on, just like you normally do sitting over the lunch table at our Rotary meeting. So instead of being there with about 40 or 50 people trying to have a conversation, which doesn't work very well, you'll be in smaller groups and allowed to have that nice conversation. We tried that today. It went well. Those who all went in the groups went well. Some of them it didn't quite form up exactly, but we're working through the technology and trying to make it better for each person. So thank you so much. District Assembly. I don't know if Georgianne is on or not, but this is her district. She really wants anyone who is part of her team and any other people who want to learn about how Rotary works to go to the District Assembly. That information has also been put out directly by the district, and it's available, I think, in the newsletter that I sent out. But it's going to be done via Zoom, and it also has breakout sessions there. You get to pick them ahead of time, learning about the different topics, and you'll learn how to effectively run a Rotary Club, raise money, and do really great things in the community. And I think I highly recommend that to everybody in the club to be a part of that. Without any further ado, Marissa Austin, today's program, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, CASA. Marissa, I know you're on, and I could read all this wonderful things about you, but most people already know what a fantastic person you are yourself and the things that you've done both at the Palace before you got to the CASA and what you've done in CASA already. And you've been a great asset to our club. So I'm just going to turn it over to you right now. If you have some slides, I'm going to stop sharing at this time, and you will be able to pop your slides up there.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. I'm blushing over here if you can't see it. I appreciate that very much. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are on Zoom, it's nice to see other faces. My family's faces are beautiful, but it's nice to see other people too. I know you all are out there. So thank you for having me today and for listening to me talk about CASA, something I'm very, very passionate about. I feel like I have spent the last several months, my whole life on Zoom, and poor Jeannie was trying to help me earlier. Even though I've done that, I still cannot figure out the buttons. So it's going to go great today, but I do ask for a little bit of grace. This is the first time I've tried to use PowerPoint. So I am going to attempt to share my screen here. Let's see here. Oh, and that did not work. So let's try that again. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Marissa Austin. I serve CASA of Williamson County as their Chief Executive Officer. I have been there for about 3.5 years now. It's a very blessed place to be. I'm having a little screen trouble. This is me tap dancing. This is my Palace Theater experience as I tap dance virtually. All right.
Screen is coming up. There you are.
All right. Score one for me. Okay. So let's talk CASA today. Okay. So we're gonna try to do this, and we're gonna pray that my internet works today too. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little video that gives you all a little bit of a background, and we're going to hope that this works today too. So let's start with this.
Growing up is tough for a kid. They have school and homework, practices and games. There are doctor's appointments and detention halls. The making friends and the keeping friends, discovering who they are, who they aren't. There's so much to learn. There's this whole world out there, right here. These times are transforming in someone's story, and they can really be quite chaotic. That chaos of being a child only increases when abuse and neglect fill their home. The normal winds of chaos are now a storm. And sometimes, when the storm is so great, a child must be removed from their home. And this is a really tough day. It's complicated, and it's painful. When a child is removed from their home because of abuse or neglect, they leave their normal and they enter foster care. The court sends them to a new place a new home, often to a new school with new people, new everything. And all of these new things aim at a better life for the child. They aim to help in the healing process for the family. But it's still tough. They still have the school activities, the doctor's appointments, and the lessons to learn. But now court dates, visits with parents, and check-ins with social workers quickly bombard the calendar. And there's the pain of separation from what they know and where they feel comfortable. There are hundreds of children in our city who experience chaotic days like this, weeks like this, years like this. And these days, weeks, and years are difficult. They're exhausting and isolating. They're really tough. But there are ways to help, ways to bear the burdens the child is carrying, ways to make the days less tough. These children need to feel more supported. They need someone constant who is on their team, someone who is fighting for their best amidst all the shuffle. And a CASA volunteer provides this help. A court-appointed special advocate helps bear these burdens. They are the constant amidst the chaos. In the middle of all the shuffle and uncertainty, they know the child. There are still tough days, but now there's someone standing up for the child day in, day out. Someone who knows both the biological and foster parents. Someone who meets with the teachers, doctors, and social workers to ensure the child's needs are being met. Someone who speaks for the child's best interest in court. Someone who the judge counts on for insight. Someone who cares about the child and just lets them be a kid. Someone who is there for the tough days, the great days, and the in-between days. This someone is so important. This someone is a CASA volunteer. And there are hundreds of children in our city waiting for a CASA volunteer. They're waiting for someone to speak up for them. They're waiting for someone to help weather the storm. Each child in foster care needs this support, this someone to count on. Be this someone for a child in foster care. Be their advocate. Be a powerful voice for their best interests. Be a CASA volunteer.
So that video, I think, does a really nice job of kind of giving a really general overview of what our program does. Our program here in Williamson County was founded in 2009. I'm sure you've heard CASA many other places. There are 72 CASA programs throughout the state of Texas. However, we are all completely separate, independent, self-governing 501c3s, which means that Williamson County, we are not governed by anyone else, by another umbrella organization, by any state or federal government. We have our own board of directors. We are completely separate, and we were founded in 2009 by a group of incredibly wonderful people, one of whom you all know very well, Miss Angie Harris, who is amazing. They worked really hard to get these kids advocates, and they really needed them. So our mission here in Williamson County is to empower community volunteers to advocate for children who have experienced abuse or neglect to find loving, safe, and permanent homes. So, in other words, what we do is we take our volunteers and we help them find their superpowers so they can be superheroes for these children in foster care. These pictures here that you see are actually from our annual superhero run, which we will talk about a little bit later because things are shifting a little bit for our superhero run, but it will still be super. But these are people who came out and supported us, and some of these folks in these pictures are volunteers for our programs. So what does it take to be a volunteer? A volunteer has to be 21 years old. They have to be an adult. They have to go through an initial interview and an application process. And it's not your everyday job interview. In fact, we asked some questions that we would get into some serious legal trouble if it was a job interview. Because as you can imagine, we need to know that it's a good fit for the volunteer and the volunteer is a good fit for the child. We do extensive background checks. I'm sure as you can imagine, there's an FBI fingerprint check. There's a CPS background check as well. After the volunteer gets through that, if they're a good fit for our program and that, they're still committed, there's 30 plus hours of initial training. And it's some pretty intense training. It historically has been a mix of online and face-to-face training. We're kind of shifting that a little bit coming up this this summer, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we do have some in-class discussion and some online discussion as well. After they complete all of that work, then they are sworn into court. And in addition to that, they have to do 12 hours of continuing education annually. So these folks are really committing a serious amount of their time and energy before they even become a volunteer. So once they become a volunteer, now what? At this point, this is where they actually will be assigned a case. We are not at the point yet where we can serve 100% of the children in our county. We're getting there. We're doing it strategically. We're doing it sustainably. We're not quite there yet. So our Williamson County courts decide which children are assigned to our program. We, the staff, review all of the cases, and then we pair the volunteer that we feel is best suited for the child or sibling group and their situation. The volunteer then has an opportunity to review the case, make sure they are comfortable with it as well. So there's a lot of give and take, a lot of conversation, as you can imagine. And when they do agree to take that case, that's when they go and they visit the child and they spend time with the child. They also go and they'll visit with the child's doctors, their lawyers, their parents, both biological and foster. They'll meet with their pastor, their soccer coach, whoever else is involved in that child's life to make sure that they really understand what's happening for that child or that sibling group. And at that point, that's when they start to advocate for their needs, their medical needs, their educational needs, their therapeutic, as well as their placement, where the child is physically living. And they take all of that information and they take it back to the court and they report it to our judges here in Williamson County. So the judges have a true understanding, a better understanding of what's happening in the child's life. Our poor foster care system is so overwhelmed, and our CPS workers are so overwhelmed. But as CASA, we can come in because our volunteers only have one case at a time, and they can spend more time with that soccer coach or with those teachers, and they can get a real good idea of what's happening with those children. So, who is a CASA child? We serve children last year, ages 0, every year really, ages 0 to 21. This year, our youngest child so far, this fiscal year, is 2 days old. And the oldest child we have served this year is 21 years old. And I know that kind of seems a little weird. Let me explain that a little bit. In the state of Texas, when a child turns 18, they have the choice. They can choose to age out of the system or they can choose to stay in the care of the state. If they stay in the care of the state, they keep their CASA, which we're always an advocate for, but they get to stay in their foster home as well. They get to keep their state benefits, and they also get to go to school for free if they go to a state school. Many children, I'm not sure how many of you remember being 18. I do. At least I remember I knew everything when I was 18. And so a lot of our children choose to age out. But we think that it's very important that these older children specifically have a CASA. So they have someone that's advocating for them and is by their side and is helping them through this and helping them realize when you're 18, consider staying in the care of the state because you have people who will take care of you and people who will love you. And then we can work on those years after that to help make sure they have the resources when they do turn 21, that they are better prepared for adult life. The children that we serve here in Williamson County were removed from a home in Williamson County. I say removed from a home because not all of our children stay here in Williamson County, unfortunately. Actually, most of our children are placed elsewhere. If they have an auntie in Laredo, they could go to Laredo. If they need a special treatment facility, they could go to San Antonio or Houston. We've had children who've been placed in Utah, in Tennessee. Their cases will always stay here in our Williamson County courts. However, the children may move elsewhere. Again, this is why our volunteers are such special people because they go and visit the child wherever the child is. And that is an incredible commitment from our volunteers. They've been removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and CASA has been appointed by the court. We don't choose the children. The court appoints us, the children that we serve. So looking at the children in our community, this is last fiscal year's data that we have for cost of Williamson County, we served 282 children, ages 4 days to 21 years last year, with 136 volunteers. And you can see on that chart our cases closed. 37% went home to their parents. 33% went to live with relatives. So a very nice chunk of that pie, they got to stay with family. And we always are very excited when children get to stay with their family. 18% were adopted by non-relatives. 9% unfortunately did age out of care. Our heart breaks a little bit when that happens, but we hope that we've given them the resources to be successful. And the 3% other is those different types of cases. For example, if a child has some very, very special needs and they will live in a facility that can care for those needs for their lifetime, they get put in that other category, which I don't like calling any child other. I don't think that sounds nice, but that's what that little green section of the pie. I'm pointing to my screen. I have a really bad habit of pointing to my screen like you all can see that. So there's that 3% other right there. As I mentioned, we have not yet serving 100% of the children in Williamson County. We are working hard to get there. Last year, 424 children were removed from their homes because of abuse and neglect here in Williamson County. So we're able to serve 67% of that. Our board is committed to making sure that when we do grow, that it is sustainable. We can't tell a child they have a CASA today and they don't tomorrow because we couldn't find funding for that. So we're being very careful and strategic about our growth. Looking at our financials, some people are interested in this because we are a volunteer organization. People wonder where our money comes from and where our money goes. You can see that we do receive state and federal, I can't point to my screen, let's use this there, state and federal funds, as well as some local government funds. Again, we are not governed by any of those entities, but we do receive that through grants. Individual donations, churches, civic organizations. A huge shout out to the Rotary Club of Georgetown for supporting us in our mission. Thank you very, very much. Foundations and then special events make up the rest of our pie chart. Last year, 84% of our income went to programs, 16% went to administration and fundraising. So what is up next for our program? So we moved into our new office in November of 2018, and I like this picture up here. Our old office was in the Community Resource Center, if any of you know where that is. It's a great space with lots of nonprofits. It was great to collaborate with those folks. We unfortunately had 4 offices and 8 staff, and so we were doubled up. So we weren't quite in bunk desks like this, although some days it really felt like it. But we needed some more space. And as you can imagine, we deal with some highly confidential information, so being doubled up was really difficult. The Georgetown Health Foundation helped us find a new space, and this is the drawing of it down here. And we are just so excited and so blessed to be in there. We have the room to almost double our staff. We will be doubled up again, hopefully not in bunk desks, but we do have room to grow. So when we have the funding to do so, we will have a space to put folks in, and we're very, very excited about that. And to get to our ultimate goal of serving 100% of the children in Williamson County, because we believe every child should have an advocate. They should have someone by their side. So speaking to our COVID-19 changes, that seems to be the big question these days, is what are we doing and are we doing? We do have our staff working from home right now. They have been working from home since the middle of March. We have extended that through the end of June right now. We are still able to fulfill our mission working from home. We've been very blessed in that. And so we cannot come up with a compelling reason to put all of those bodies back in the office where, we could put people at risk. So folks are working from home through the end of June right now. We have changed some of our volunteer requirements as well. Most unfortunately, in the last couple of months, we have seen a few deaths of children in foster care. and it's not because of the virus. These children have experienced additional abuse and neglect, and they have lost their lives. And, excuse me, none of them have been our Williamson County children, but that does not make it any less tragic or any less serious. And so we are requiring our volunteers to check in with their CASA children weekly now, and preferably by a video call so they can physically see the children and the environment in which they are living. If they cannot do that, then we ask them to call them and speak to the children. This has been a very big change for all of our volunteers, and they have all stepped up and have all done amazing work and are so committed and have been asking since day one when they can go and see their child in person again, which we've had to suspend. So our volunteers are really, truly incredible people. Some of you may know that our courts here in Williamson County are holding hearings virtually, so that's been new and a learning curve for all of us. And this summer, we will have our first ever Zoom volunteer training. So we are working through how that's going to look. We're playing with those breakout rooms, George, trying to figure out how that'll work, because we want to have those great conversations that happen in training, because that's really what prepares our volunteers to work through their cases. We also require our volunteers to observe court, so that'll be interesting too with the virtual court system. For those of you who don't know the CASA staff, I did put them down here. This was our Go Blue weekly staff meeting. So that's all of their beautiful, happy, smiling faces. They are very special people. We have a great staff who are working really, really hard for the children. So how can you help? Our CASA Superhero Run is scheduled for September 13th of 2020. It will be virtual. I don't know how many of you have seen all of these virtual runs. I clicked on one at one point, and now every other ad on Facebook, and there's a million ads on Facebook, is a virtual run. Like there's a Star Wars run and all sorts of things. Ours is the Superhero Run. And these proceeds come back here to our kids and our program here in Williamson County. So it is a collaborative effort between Williamson County CASA program, Travis County CASA program, and Central Texas CASA. So the three of us come together and we do one big superhero run. The beautiful thing about this is all of the money that we raise here in Williamson County comes back to our program here in Williamson County. It's not split amongst the different counties in Texas. Our golf tournament, I'm pretty excited about the Rotary one. That's always my highlight of the year. That's how I first got involved with Rotary, was the golf tournament a few years ago. Ours is scheduled for October 19th, and it will be at Berry Creek this year. So it's a new venue for us. We're learning there are some restrictions and whatnot, but right now we're going to move forward with it, and we think it will be a lot of fun. And I think it'll be great to just be outside doing something. So we're looking forward to that. How else can you help? Share. Tell your friends, your family, people you work with, your churches, anyone you know about CASA. We are very proud of what we do. We are very humbled to do what we do and to serve these children and these volunteers. And word of mouth is the best advertising. So if you could share what we do, we would absolutely love that. You could be an advocate. We are always looking for more volunteers. We particularly are looking for male volunteers and bilingual volunteers right now. So if anyone is interested in such a thing, please let me know. We would love to have more volunteers. Our next training session starts in just a few weeks. And of course, we are a nonprofit. So any donations do help us, particularly now. It costs $2,000 to provide a CASA to a child for 1 year, roughly. And so as a nonprofit, we all know how that works. Donations are always gladly accepted. We have seen in the last few weeks actually a decrease in cases, which most people would think that's a good thing. We are a little bit worried about it because we do think that once children start going back to school, where their teachers will see them and administrators will see them, that we may see an increase in cases at that point. So we are working hard to prepare for that, to make sure that we have the resources and the volunteers to serve those children when those cases do come to us, probably later this year. And Are there any questions? I get really excited about CASA and speak really quickly. So I would love to take any questions that you all have. And I see my husband's walking in the door over here. So if I get distracted, Joe just walked in. Well, I could probably unshare my screen too, if I can figure that out. There we go.
I have a question. Marissa, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You gave us a lot of figures about the total number of children served during the year. And if you gave me the figure that I'm asking for, I apologize, but my attention may have been lapsed at one point. And that is, at any one given time, how many children are being served by CASA on average?
So like the number today.
Yeah.
That is an excellent question. I'm tallying numbers in my head. I would say at this point, we are upwards of 125 to 150 at this moment in time.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have kids that were matched with a, adult come back later and like have a success story or anything, any kind of results of how that impacted their life?
So that's a great question, because I've been trying to work on that for the last few years since I've been here, because those success stories are so important to what we do. It's difficult for several reasons. One, our program is fairly young. We've only been around since 2009, so that's really only 10 years. And if you get young children, we don't have that longevity to build those stories. The other issue is I call our program, we have the Mary Poppins effect. So we come in when those children really need us, and then we hope that we leave and they have a family and they don't need us anymore. And so our relationship is gone, which is great. And that's what we want. And so sometimes it's difficult to come back and build that relationship again and ask those questions. We are starting to work on that a little bit more. We are being careful which children and which families we are asking for that type of information, because we definitely don't want to re-traumatize any of those children with what they have been through already. That's a great question, though. There's also the confidentiality issue, too.
Marissa, how many children, or how many children are assigned to each volunteer? Is it a one-on-one or?
That's a great question. So our volunteers take one case at a time. A case could be one child, or it could be a sibling set. So we have had lots of single child cases, but we've also had some cases where there's 7, 8 children in a case. If it's that level, we'll generally split it up between a couple volunteers, because unfortunately the children aren't usually living together. So if a volunteer has to visit 8 children, that becomes a lot. But we do keep them to one case at a time, and we are very picky about that in our program. We also, some CASA programs allow their staff to take cases. We do not do that here in Williamson County. We want our staff to only be focused on empowering and serving the volunteers, so the volunteers have the resources they need. And so we're very strict in our policies there, and we're pretty strict in our policies with one case at a time per volunteer.
Marissa, thank you so very much. What an awesome presentation. Wow. CASA is an amazing and, as I understand, extremely effective program.
Thank you all so much.
Absolutely. We really love to have you And we're excited that you're a member of our club, and we sure enjoy working with you and all the different things that we get to do in Rotary. So let's go ahead and move on to our next thing. I guess I need to go back and share my screen real quickly. Announcements for the good of Rotary. I believe Jeannie has something about the Field of Honor. I forgot to do a slide for her on that. So let me go ahead and give her the opportunity right now, real quick.
That's great. Well, thank you, George. And hi, everybody. I just wanted to take a moment to remind everyone to please go on the website, the brand new Field of Honor website that is at www.georgetowntxfieldofhonor.org. And also, if you could please go on to the Facebook page for Rotary, for the Field of Honor. We would really appreciate it if everybody could like that page and interact on that page as well. I've been posting information about our coming events and how we're going to be doing things and trying to drive people to the website as well. So whatever you can do to help share any of the posts on that page, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. Look forward to seeing you sometime soon.
Jeannie, thank you very much. Any other announcements for the good of Rotary? And Jim Henry did finally join us. Jim, welcome, our governor.
Thanks, George. I've only been on about 1,000 Zoom calls. You'd think I'd have it figured out by now, but sometimes.
Well, this is a very difficult one to remember. You just have to remember my phone number, and that's your room.
Well, I was actually just looking for a Zoom link. So I was actually on your YouTube, and you were saying, Jim, are you there? And I was yelling at the screen. Then I realized you can't talk to YouTube. So I finally did find you. So
sounds like something I would have done. I love it.
I'm glad to finally be able to have a Friday noon free to join y'all. And
well, we're excited to have you. Thank you.
And we'll see everybody at 4 o'clock tonight, this afternoon.
There you go. Thank you very much for all the things the district is doing, and those Zoom special Zoom series they have on Friday afternoon has been fantastic. Now, Karen, you've attended those on a regular basis. Do you want to say a little bit about the Zoom series?
Got to unmute there. It's really amazing. It's been fun participating in those. I've met a lot of new people. They always have very interesting topics. So I encourage you to take the time to do it. You'll see a lot of familiar faces. George, you're on there. I see folks from the Sun City Rotary Club on there. And then, of course, other folks around our district, plus other folks from around the country come on there too. It's not just our district. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to jump on there with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any other announcements to go to Rotary? Don't see anything else, so let's go ahead and continue our meeting with the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is the truth. Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will build goodwill and better friendships.
And fourth,
will it be beneficial
to all concerned. We are adjourned.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are excited to have everybody. So anyone who's still on, I have a quick question. If you let me know what you thought of the breakouts. If you got to be on the early portion of it, using the breakout rooms and have the opportunity to talk with a smaller number of people and actually have a conversation instead of just trying to fit yourself in with 20 or 30 people.
It was good.
Yeah, the only thing was people got put into breakouts and weren't sure what they were there for because they missed your announcement. But if there's a way to post, talk amongst yourselves, that would be good.
Yes, so that's probably a good thing. Yes, there's a lot I have to learn about that. That's a great suggestion, Brian.
It might be fun to give them a topic as things that maybe we've been thinking about in the board that we'd like to get some input from everyone on. That might be fun too, just to come up with 3 or 4 topics and have everybody discuss it, and then have someone assigned on that breakout to do a report out, just real quick. Nothing involved.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna have to do a lot more planning to do that, but I think that's a really good idea, actually. So we would need volunteers to actually be in each one of the breakout rooms. We only had 5, so it wasn't like it was a large number, but there were a total of about 20 to 25 people that were breaking out in that, so that would work well. If we had everyone on there, there were over 55 people on this call today. So if everybody actually showed up, it'd be a little more, but that's still a great suggestion, and it really would allow us to get a lot of feedback and guidance on what the members of the club want. So I think that's
Yeah.
a really good suggestion.
Yeah, we're always wondering what they think, and this would be a good time to find out. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
So do you have time to kind of help organize that for me?
Well, friends, that will end today's Rotary Club of Georgetown meeting. We hope that you have a wonderful and blessed weekend ahead. Thanks for being with us today, friends, and have a great rest of your day.